How do you kill a deer that literally knows every move you make? How do you kill a deer that has you patterned? You change up your pattern.
It's been a cat and mouse game back and forth between this deer and myself. I'd hunt the east side, he'd be on the west side. I'd be on the west side, he'd be on the east side. Back and forth we went, just a chess match, back and forth. Probably the biggest cat and mouse game I've ever had with any deer. It's the hunt that I love, and this sucker gave me a hell of a hunt.
It's the middle of November, and I'm really struggling to find a good deer to go after. I've spent the last couple of months on the family farms, and I've seen a lot of deer, just nothing mature enough or anything that I'd really want to put my tag on. In fact, it's been so rough this year that I even decided to try my luck on some public land, with the hopes of rattling up a decent one there. After a couple weeks on public land though, and no luck whatsoever, I knew that I needed to do something different. So I decided to spend some time behind the camera and put my wife on a pretty decent deer, which ended up being her biggest buck to date. During that time, I knocked on some doors and made some phone calls, and eventually ended up getting permission on another tract of land. I immediately hung up a couple trail cameras and got a couple pictures of 2 different 8-pointers, deer that I thought were at least good enough to get a better look at. So I decided to go ahead and hunt this new property. And unbeknownst to me, I was about to be in for the hunt of my life. I saw a couple young bucks fighting over on the west side, so I decided to throw out a couple calls and see if I couldn't stir something up.
When my love takes me home, it's 105 in a 30-mile zone. Foot like lead, nerves like steel. Wild ride when he's taking the wheel. We're on a road now, and we can't slow down. We're on a road now, and we can't slow down. Twists and turns, we never learn.
Well, it's midday, and I hate to even get out the blind on a day like today, because the bucks have been on their feet like crazy all day today. But I checked the weather. The wind's supposed to be shifting here, and it's not going to make for a good setup on the east side. Not to mention that, but I think all the big boys are down on the west side, so I filmed a giant 10-pointer on the west side this morning. Just an absolute stud. I originally came in here just to get a better look at a couple 8-pointers, and come to find out there's a giant 10-pointer in here. So I'm headed back to the house. Gonna get back to the house just as quick as I can, get my stuff rounded up, get another ground blind, and then come back out here and throw up a ground blind on the west side, and hopefully not bump any deer or scare any deer, because like I said, they are on their feet moving like crazy right now. So either way, I'm gonna head back to the house, get another ground blind, set it up, hopefully kill a big one on the west side. Stay tuned. Well, it's November 20th, and I'm back at it again. I'm just putting in the time, punched that time clock. So we've got the big 10-pointer that I call the Jones buck in here, and then I've got another 8-pointer. Well, there's 3 8-pointers in here that are all nice deer, but there's only one that I would shoot, and he's the deer I call a blind-eye buck. He's blind in his right eye. I don't know if he got it gouged out during fighting or what, but anyways, that's how he got his name. He's got real good mass, and he's got matching kickers on bow cheek too. So those are the 2 deer that I'm after. Regardless, whichever one walks in first, that's the one I'm going to shoot. It's cold this morning. It's about 27 degrees this morning, which is the coldest morning we've had for a while. So hopefully this cold weather get them on their feet moving. Should be a good morning. We'll see.
As soon as the temperature started to warm up, so did the deer activity, as one of the 8-pointers that I had on my trail camera started chasing a doe all over the farm. With the day that I had yesterday and a hot doe in the area today, I knew that all-day sets were a must, and I was going to be taking all-day sets for as long as it took to put a good deer down. It was midday now, and things had kind of slowed down, until something caught my attention in the brush. It was the 10-pointer. It was the deer that I call the Jones buck, and he had a doe with him. But that wasn't going to keep me from doing everything I could to try to pull him off of that doe.
Is an absolute stud. That is the 10-pointer that I was talking about this morning. And that is a deer that I am calling the Jones buck in honor of the gentleman who's letting me hunt this farm. That is a stud of a deer, and his G3s are incredible. I tried everything. I threw everything but the kitchen sink at him. I tried grunting. He's got a doe with him, which I knew that. He's got a hot doe with him, and he just does not want to give up that doe. But I threw out some estrus calls and some grunts, thinking, he may think there's another doe over here in heat, and another buck's going to get that doe bred. And snort wheezed at him. He was definitely upset, was raking his antlers through that evergreen tree, but I just could not pull him off of that doe. So I think at this point, all we can hope for is that doe comes out in the open here sometime this evening. Hopefully she walks 30 yards in front of us, and then he comes tailing behind her and gives us a shot. That's the best hope we've got right now.
A couple hours after the Jones buck decided to take his doe off into his bedroom, the blind eye buck decided to make his appearance as well. I watched him drink water for probably 5 to 10 minutes, and the entire time I just continued to think of how blessed I truly am. Even if I'm not able to put my tag on this deer or any other deer, the fact that we all have the freedoms that we do, and to just be able to get out here and have the ability to hunt these animals and enjoy God's creation, that in and of itself is more than enough for me. I don't have to kill a deer in order to enjoy the hunt. Just being out here was more than enough. He would eventually walk off, and then later that evening, the Jones buck would show back up again, following his doe around the edge of the pond. I would go on to hunt both of these deer every day for the next 8 days straight, and I'd only see the Jones buck one more time before he ended up disappearing altogether. I knew that my window for catching up with one of these deer was starting to get smaller and smaller as the rut was starting to wind down. So at this point, I was starting to lose hope.
Well, it's November 29th, and I'm actually setting up on the east side here tonight. I've been hunting a deer I call the blind eye buck. I was actually in here going after a deer I call the Jones buck as well, but I haven't seen that deer for probably the last 5 or 6 days, so I'm pretty sure that he just got done breeding his doe, and now he's left, and he's probably back on his home core area where he stays. So right now it's the blind eye buck or nothing, but the problem with that is this deer's got me patterned for sure. I went in here yesterday late morning, pulled the cards on the west side, and sure enough, that deer, the blind eye buck, followed a doe back up in behind my blind at the little patch of timber that I've got my blind set up in. So he's bedded in that patch of timber. So I tried accessing my blind a different route last night, knowing that he was bedded in there. And sure enough, 15 minutes after I'd left my blind, which would have been about the same time that I got to my truck, that's when he decided to come out, and I've got a trail cam picture of him staring right at my blind. So, no question, that deer knows I'm in here, he knows I'm hunting, and he's got me patterned for sure. So, tonight, I'm actually going on the east side, not because I think he's going to show up over here, but just so I can get a better idea of where he's bedded at in that patch of timber on the west side, because I can actually see my blind and see that patch of timber where he's bedded right now from the east side. So I'm going to get set up here on the east side. I'm going to get tucked in the blind here. And like I said, more than anything, this is more just for a scouting visual on this deer, to try to get a better idea of where he's bedded at. So then that way tomorrow, I can try to pick a better way to access my blind and hopefully get in there without him seeing me. So we're going to get tucked up in here this evening. Hopefully get a scouting report for tomorrow, so stay tuned.
That evening, I had a really close encounter with a nice 8-pointer, and he was one of the first bucks that I got a trail cam picture of. But after having had several encounters with this deer already, I knew that he was only 4 years old and needed another year to grow. Besides that, I had already made up my mind that it was the blind eye buck or nothing at this point, so I decided to let him walk. Shortly after he walked off into the timber, the blind-eye buck made his appearance and came out of his bedding area on the west side. Now I knew for sure where he was bedded at and what exactly I needed to do for the following evening's hunt.
Well, it's November 30th. It's the day before rifle season, and I'm going in here after a deer I call the blind-eye buck. This deer's been extremely difficult to hunt, and I'm not so sure he doesn't have any pattern. In fact, I know he does. So I'm actually accessing the blind a different route tonight, which will be the third different way I've tried to access my blind. There's no doubt in my mind that this deer knows that I'm in here, and he knows that I'm hunting him. Yeah, I know this sucker's bedded in right behind my deer blind, which is making him extremely difficult to access my blind without him knowing that I'm in here. So last night I actually set up on the east side just so I could try to get eyes on him and get a better idea of where he was bedded. And I actually saw him come out last night, and I think I've got a better idea of where he's bedded. And I've got to be real quiet here. So I think I've got a better idea of where he's bedded. So now I'm going to access my deer blind a different route and hopefully get into my blind without him knowing that I'm here. Yeah, I really don't know what else to do right now. Tomorrow's opening day of rifle season, and if I can't get it done tonight, I'm probably going to let this spot set, probably let it rest for at least another week, and just try to get together a different game plan to figure out how to hunt this deer, because, yeah, this deer's got me patterned for sure, so I've got to change things up here for the season. Try to predict here, try to make it happen, we'll see.
My evening set started off with the same 8-pointer that I saw the night before. And then later on, some does started to filter out. As much as I love a good hunt, I'd be lying if I said this deer wasn't starting to take a toll on me. So much so that the last few sets, I haven't even bothered knocking an arrow and getting ready, because I was really starting to think that this wasn't going to happen at all. And it's probably a good thing that I didn't have an arrow knocked. Otherwise, I might have been tempted to let an arrow fly on this new buck that decided to show up for the first time tonight. He definitely gave me enough time to knock an arrow and send one in his direction, but I overcame the temptation and opted to let him walk off, even though daylight was fading and my hunt was just about over. And thank God I did, because there he was.
Give me a second. This is a property I got permission for. I immediately threw up a ground blind, threw up a trail camera on the east side. And this is one of the first deers I got a trail cam picture of, broad daylight. Got in here the very next day, was after him. And these deer have been on their feet chasing does left and right. It's been absolutely insane. There's been 3 different 8-pointers in here, a stud of a 10-pointer. The 10-pointer, he's no longer been showing up here the last few days. I think, again, they've been chasing does like crazy, so these deer have been coming in from other properties. I knew surely one of these bucks lived here, but I didn't know which one. Now, after hunting this deer, I really believe that this is the deer that lived here, because like I said, the 10-pointer, he was here for like a 72-hour window and then he was gone, so he probably got his doe bred and then he was out of here. Man, that is a freaking stud of an 8-pointer. That's a deer I call the blind eye buck. He's blind in his right eye, and he's got good mass and matching kickers on both G2s. Just a freaking stud of a deer. And I'm telling you what, like I said, this has been a cat and mouse game back and forth. I really didn't think it was even going to happen tonight. I didn't have an arrow even knocked. I had my bow sitting here off on the side. Didn't even have an arrow knocked. And I really didn't think it was even going to happen. You know, tomorrow's opening day for rifle season. If I didn't get done tonight, I was going to let this set for probably a week and just try to come up with a new game plan to try to figure out how to hunt this deer, because I was just positive that this deer had me patterned. But you know, tonight I came in here a different route than what I typically come in here, because I knew this deer was bedded in the same patch of timber that my blind is in, and he can pretty much see everything that you could imagine. I mean, he's going to see you come into your blind. He's going to see exactly what's going on. So I knew this deer was staying in here, so I knew I had to change something up. So sure enough, I decided to come in here a different route tonight. And oh my goodness, it freaking paid off. It paid off huge. And he's laying dead. I heard him crash over there. He just ran over that pond dam, and he's laying dead over there. And I couldn't be more freaking pumped right now. That deer has given me one hell of a hunt. And man, I just can't believe it came together tonight. I really can't. I didn't think it was going to happen, and it did. And he's dead over there. Didn't go maybe 100 yards, and he's dead. And I am freaking pumped. I am done for 2021. Oh my goodness.
Got good blood coming through here. Good blood there. Oh, there he is. Found him. Look at that absolute stud. This right here is the deer that came in after. This right here is the deer I call the blind eye buck. He's blind in that right eye. Just an absolute stud. He's got good mass, a lot better mass than I thought he had. I knew he had good mass, but man, those bases are just solid. Got a good brow tine on that right side. Got matching kickers on his G2s on the back side. Got good mass, just a stud deer. This is a deer I came in here after to kill. Had this deer and another deer I call a Jones buck, and I knew that only one of these deer probably lived on this property. The rut has been absolutely rocking. Just been non-stop action on this property, and I can't believe it came together tonight. It's been a cat and mouse game back and forth between this deer and myself. Seems like anytime I'd go after him, I'd hunt the east side, he'd be on the west side. I'd be on the west side, he'd be on the east side. Back and forth we went, just a chess match, back and forth. Probably the biggest cat and mouse game I've ever had with any deer. And it's just a culmination of events that added up to this evening. And he came in 30 yards broadside, gave me a perfect shot, made a perfect shot, and he ran about 100 yards and piled up over this pond dam here. And I couldn't be more tickled to death with this deer. This deer's given me one heck of a hunt, a hell of a hunt. Way more so than any other deer probably. My wife's gonna be happy to have me back because I've been absolutely obsessed with this deer. Just like I said, it's the hunt that I love, and this sucker gave me an incredible hunt.